Okay, this is really interesting. The general public has long suspected that police departments lie incessantly to cover up police criminality, and that mainstream media has partnered with local police departments to cunningly popularize police department lies by regurgitating police talking points. Today, because of this news story, we are uniquely positioned to discover exactly what the truth is and lay it bare before the general public. In what way are we uniquely positioned? Well, through the journalistic efforts of Sean Paul Reyes from Long Island Audit, we have the actual video evidence of this particular subject. We have the police internal affairs report. See, she's got a copy of that report in her hands. And we have mainstream media coverage of this story, which at the very least reveals journalistic laziness. Let me demonstrate what I mean, and we'll take it from the top.
Up tonight at 11, an internal affairs investigation report is out on an incident involving a now retired state trooper. Last month, this video went viral showing Sergeant Brian Fahey being confronted at his home in Groton by a YouTuber and his photographer. Those two were arrested, and tonight we've learned Fahey was disciplined as well. Amanda Callahan is your reporter live from State Police headquarters in Middletown to break down this report. Amanda.
Will Amanda try to shovel piles of brainless propaganda?
Well, Aaron, State Police confirmed today that Sergeant Brian Fahey was placed on unpaid leave while this investigation was unfolding. Now, this is the internal affairs report right here, and it says that Fahey's conduct reflected negatively on the department, but it also details some of what wasn't shown in that viral video.
You better believe I'm going to be nitpicky about this because words matter and framing matters. She says, as though it were fact, that the report, quote, details some of what wasn't shown in the viral video.
It also details some of what wasn't shown in that viral video.
For the sake of integrity, she should have said the report claims to detail some of what wasn't shown in that viral video. And then if she did have integrity, she should have followed it up with, but we investigated the police department's claims and found them to be patently false.
It also details some of what wasn't shown in that viral video, as well as the many threats that both Fahey and his family were receiving.
Conduct reflected negatively.
Fahey's conduct reflected negatively on the department.
Brian Fahey, with a gun in his hand, threatening a journalist asking questions, and we'll get to why he was asking questions later, but spit in another man's mouth. An armed man who represents the Connecticut State Police, because he's a goddamn Connecticut State Trooper, with a gun in his hand, spit in another man's mouth, and that just reflects negatively?
You spit in my face!
No kind of language of, we were absolutely appalled when we saw this, and we immediately arrested Sergeant Brian Fahey. We took away all of his police privileges. He is now decertified, and he's sitting in a jail cell ready to await sentencing. In a just world, that's exactly what should have happened.
Get off my property! Get that gun out of your hand! Get off my property! Get that gun out of your hand! Connecticut State Trooper! I don't care who you are!
It's this confrontation between State Police Sergeant Brian Fahey and YouTuber Sean Paul Reyes on July 11th that sparked an internal affairs investigation.
You are right now. You spit in my face. My property. You're going to jail now.
Reyes showed up to Fahey's private home on July 11th to confront the sergeant about overtime pay, and the scary encounter quickly escalated.
Yeah, that's all it was. He just went to his house to confront him about overtime pay. There's a larger investigation here that WFSB Channel 3 should involve itself with. I mean, this is the ultimate public interest story because it's not just about overtime. It's a more specific investigation into the rampant abuse of overtime theft for a desk jockey to the tune of $80-something thousand a year for that one officer. WFSB should busy itself investigating that instead of glossing over it.
Fahey admitted to spitting at Reyes, which is ultimately what warranted disciplinary action. The report says that conduct reflects negatively on the department. A statement released by the state police says, quote, as a result of this investigation, Sergeant Fahey was disciplined with an unpaid suspension prior to his retirement. But the report also says the video is missing context. That
should have been prior to his arrest, prior to his imprisonment, and prior to his sentencing.
Prior to the confrontation, there were violent ongoing threats aimed at both Sergeant Fahey.
All right, check this out.
Paid suspension prior to his retirement. But the report also says the video is missing context. That prior to the confrontation, there were violent ongoing threats aimed at both Sergeant Fahey and his family. Some of them coming from comments on YouTube, others in emails, Facebook messages, phone calls to his personal number in police barrack, and pieces of mail. Some of them even death threats.
Which is all completely irrelevant when attempting to hold Brian Fahey accountable for his own criminal actions against another man. And maybe, just maybe, all those people issued those threats because of the actions, the criminal actions of goddamn Connecticut State Trooper Brian Fahey.
I'm a goddamn Connecticut State Trooper.
I mean, why the heck would somebody say that right there unless there was some action that caused them to say it? Sean Paul Reyes didn't follow a script for Brian Fahey to follow. Brian Fahey just let his mask slip and let his true colors show. And then a viewing audience responded accordingly. How about you report that as an explanation, WFSB?
The report also says the cameraman with Reyes was wearing a mask and a hood, and that Fahey's property was clearly marked with no trespassing signs that aren't shown in Reyes's video. Fahey's daughter and wife were also home at the time of the incident, the report saying his wife's 911 call clearly conveyed fear and stress. But Reyes disagrees with some of what the investigation found, claiming his cameraman was not in a mask or hood and that he never saw no trespassing signs.
And there is your, at the minimum, journalistic laziness. Because when they were interviewing Sean, they could have verified what Sean said. They could have verified what the internal report said. They could have watched the video for themselves and then concluded and reported to a viewing audience, oh yeah, that's right. The cameraman didn't have a mask and a hood on, because you can clearly see from the video that his cameraman doesn't have a hoodie and a mask on. And if they're going to lie about this, what else are they willing to lie about? I mean, we can verify this lie. WFSB could have reported on this lie and revealed it to their audience, but they chose not to. Why? And why should we even trust you, WSFB, if you're not going to report the whole truth? You didn't have to take Sean Paul Reyes' word for it. You didn't have to take the internal investigation report's word for it. You could have investigated it yourself. And it was a simple matter to hit play on the video, but you chose not to do it.
But Reyes disagrees with some of what the investigation found, claiming his cameraman was not in a mask or hood and that he never saw no trespassing signs. He says, quote, the state police self-described fair, accurate, and complete internal affairs report is anything but.
And WFSB could have verified that, but they didn't. And we're almost at the end of this report, and not once did they mention that Sergeant Brian Fahey assaulted and battered Sean twice before this incident right here.
Now, Fahey was retired officially as of August 1st. State police say he made that decision in May of this year. So before this whole confrontation unfolded, there is a civil lawsuit pending between Reyes and Fahey. There's also a protective order for Fahey as part of Reyes and his photographer's bond.
The bottom line is that Fahey has a pattern of abuse, and Fahey's department has a pattern of covering up criminals with costumes and guns. Did WFSB even bother to FOIA request the 911 calls from the frantic and panicked wife? Did they even bother to watch the entire Long Island audit video where it showed that there were no trespassing signs? Is there a reason WFSB failed to mention that Brian Fahey came out of his house with a gun in his hand? In the spirit of journalistic integrity, did they even read this report they're talking about? You know, to verify its accuracy? I mean, let's be honest here. This report claims that Sean edited out the no trespassing signs between the timestamps of 5:12 and 5:15. If WSFB bothered to look at Sean's video, they would determine that was absolutely incorrect and they could have reported on that lie. The report says that the cameraman was wearing a mask and a hoodie. Another clear, verifiable lie. The Internal Affairs report even claimed that when Brian Fahey told Sean to get off his property, he, quote, positioned himself deeper into the yard, which is another clear, verifiable lie that WSFB could have reported on. And this same report clearly defames Sean about a situation that Sean got himself into about 13 years ago, where the report says he was involved in an armed robbery when it was actually an attempted robbery with no firearm. The bottom line is this Internal Affairs report is full of verifiable lies, and WFSB, for whatever reason, chose not to call those lies out. That is not investigation, that is propaganda. Propaganda peddled by a gal named Amanda. Maybe WFSB can redeem themselves by completely redoing this report and retracting any misinformation that they peddled. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because it seems like mainstream media outlets operate as the propaganda arm for local and state and federal police departments. Meanwhile, Brian Fahey and his henchmen are still at large, and they have not been held accountable for their tyrannical actions. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. I'll leave the link to Sean's full video in the description below so that you can see it for yourself and arrive at your own conclusions. The camera doesn't lie. Cops, on the other hand, specifically Connecticut corrupticate cops, absolutely do. I'll see you in the next video.